Hey guys, this is Tanner Investor here. Thank you so much for tuning in. Today, I put together a video of 40 reasons why I'm investing in BMNR. So I think just like with every other stock I own, I like to take a step back and say, hey, has the thesis changed? Has the reasons why I was once very excited about the stock, are those reasons still intact? And so I put together a presentation because I know there's new viewers that don't know what BMNR is. And there are a lot of people that are subscribed to me that obviously have been following along with this play. It is, as a disclosure, none of this is financial advice, and this is my number one position for the Ethereum digital asset treasury companies. I have like north of $50,000 into these plays, and BMNR makes up a big chunk of that. And so I just put together some slides as to why I'm bullish on BMNR and also ETH in general, which we all know that since they're a treasury company, they're holding that underlying asset. So anything that's really pro Ethereum should ultimately increase the price of Ethereum, the ETH token itself, and then can increase the price and stock price of BMNR. And so I'm going to go ahead and hop in. I want this video to be quick, and I want to be straight to the point. I don't want to take up 2 hours of your time. So let's go ahead and hop in here to my screen. This first thread here, I just want to talk about what's the hypothetical share price if we do hit that 60,000 price prediction. Now, you might be wondering, what the heck, $60,000? Well, that's not what I'm saying. That's what Tom Lee's saying. He thinks that this can get to $60,000. So with today's holdings, since there's 120.7 million total ETH out in the world, if we have right now 2.8 billion at a $60,000 share, I don't want to go through the math individually, but I came out with $788.40 per share. That is if the supply stays the same, the multiple stays the same, etc. This is a very unlikely situation, but I wanted to just for fun see what that would be. Now, if we got to that 5%, which is Tom Lee's alchemy of 5%, he wants to hold 5% of the total ETH supply. That would give us over 6 million ETH, and at $60 ETH price, we would be looking at more about $1681.20 per share, given the same multiple and roughly the same amount of shares. So I'm going to go ahead and hop into the next one. And my camera's back on because the rest of the presentation won't cut off my slides. So here we are. We have one thing as $4.50 net asset value all the way to $46 in net asset value per share. So his original PIPE investment was so low, he's already 10x the value of his treasury in just a couple months. So that's incredible. And as of today, here are the new ETH holdings. If you haven't seen the X post already or the press release on their website, we're looking at 2.8 million in ETH. We have still the Bitcoin, and we still have the stake in Orbs, which we are trading also at the highest MNAV. This is based on Friday's MNAV update, but we are roughly about the same at a 1.4x. We're trading significantly higher than any other ETH digital asset treasury company, and we're right on the heels of MicroStrategy. And at one point, we actually traded above the premium of MicroStrategy. And with staking, we've talked about how I think in the long run, we should demand a higher multiple because we're getting a yield back on the underlying asset. So number 3, BMNR liquidity is 86 to 90% of all ETH DATs. So you can see here, it's the 22nd most traded stock in the entire market. That is wild. This company just came into existence only a few months ago. So that is wild to see. Here's a continued slide for that, where on today's ETH DAT update with BMNR, they actually showed this, that them and MSTR together are trading at 86% of the total digital asset treasury volume for not only ETH DATs, but also Bitcoin DATs as well. So you can see liquidity is super important for institutions because they want to be able to buy, but also be able to sell whenever they have shares. So liquidity is very important. I also wanted to show here on the update, you can look at the bottom of Risk on Bobby's update sheets, and you can see the daily volume. There have been days where the Ethereum digital asset treasuries, BMNR has traded over 90% of the total ETH DAT volume. So that's why I wanted to have that range. Number 4, BMNR moonshot investments in Orbs. So we know that we have a $250 million private placement. Of that, $20 million was from BMNR into the first WorldCoin treasury, which is Dan Ives' company called 8Co. This investment has already gone from 20 million to 113 million, I think was the last time I've seen. So we've seen a significant increase by almost 6x, and at one point was over 10x. So if that goes up, we're going to go up as well. I mean, we should, because we'll have more net asset value. Number 5, BMNR acquisitions are possible. So as you see in the original chairman's letter from Tom Lee, there's number 5 ways to increase ETH per share. Acquire digital asset trading at treasuries trading at close to net asset value of ETH held. So if there are people trading under or close to net asset value, you can actually acquire other DATs. And I actually came out with a video because there was a rumor that BMNR would be purchasing ETHZ. That still could be a possibility. And I have a sneaky suspicion that potentially BTBT over time could be subject to that as well. Tom Lee and Sam Tabar were just on stage together in Singapore at Token 2049. Number 6, BMNR sells institutional shares at a 14% premium. So they actually just traded 2 institutions shares at a premium. And they also traded warrants as well, which is saying some big things. People like institutions out there are willing to buy the stock price at a higher price than what it's trading today. Number 7, retail is piling in on BMNR. Tom Lee has been on a MIT's live stream. If you guys are on FinX or FinTwit, the financial community on X, Amit, people like Tevis, Future Investing, Chris Patel, all these people that are really, have a big following on X have been piling into BMNR, been buying options on BMNR, and are really bullish on exactly what Tom Lee is saying. Number 8, new leveraged exposure. There is a new T-Rex 2X leverage ETF called BMNU. So you can actually get a leveraged exposure. Anytime there's a leveraged play like this, like an ETF, the money will actually flow and the liquidity will flow as if it was trading through BMNR. So this is really good. It's going to increase liquidity, which, like I've talked about, is really good for BMNR. The Tom Lee effect. I think just having Tom Lee as a marketer, we all know this is, Tom Lee is one of the most recognized and followed macro strategists on Wall Street. He's always on CNBC. He's a full-time contributor and is widely quoted in the media. It's always on BMNR, or always on CNBC in the mornings talking about BMNR and his other economist views. And then we also, he's considered one of the most well-known authorities in digital assets by Crypto Influencer. So he has been calling for Bitcoin its rise since it was at like $1,000 a share, guys. So imagine if you got into Bitcoin when it was $1,000 per Bitcoin. Now you'd already have over 100x your investment. Peter Thiel also has a 9.1% stake in BMNR. That's another big reason to be bullish on BMNR. Peter Thiel is known to be one of the best investors out there. He's actually a big investor and co-founder of Palantir. He was a big investor into PayPal in the past. He also has put his money into other digital asset treasury companies, so like ETHZ, for example. We also have a very pro-crypto SEC chair, Paul Atkins. So Paul Atkins has gone out and said, crypto's time has come. I actually made a video on that if you want to go deeper. But having a pro-crypto chair is something that we have not had with the previous administration. It was really putting a damper on the share price of cryptocurrency and not allowing it to run like it has. So number 12, the SEC launches Project Crypto. The SEC, this is kind of the same point as the last one, but they actually have a whole initiative in place as to how we're going to reduce regulation, make crypto just a little bit more easy and friendly to large institutions and banks. The Genius Act was for stablecoin technology and is signed into law. We have talked about that a lot, so I don't want to get too much, but as of July, the Genius Act is in place. And the Clarity Act is expected by either end of year or early 2026. I have an entire video on the Clarity Act as well. That one, there's a lot of great reasons why. It's a market structure bill that's basically going to define who has authority over cryptocurrency assets and what the asset actually is. So it is a digital asset nowadays. So it will be going to the CFTC and not through the SEC, which we know the CFTC has actually been more crypto friendly over its lifetime than the SEC has. There is a new strategic ETH reserve. So Trump announced in March that he's going to be adding Solana, Cardano, Ripple, Ethereum, and Bitcoin to make US the crypto capital of the world. So he will be holding all kinds of cryptocurrencies, including Ethereum, into a strategic ETH reserve. As of now, there have been money that's actually being accumulated, typically through like fraud and issues with that, where they're taking that Bitcoin and holding it now themselves. 16 is Trump-linked World Liberty Financial through the Trump family. Their number one holding is Ethereum. So we know that they've been very bullish. Trump's sons have been super bullish. Eric Trump, of course, very bullish on Ethereum, and he even has said to buy the dips and has actually tweeted that Ethereum is great to buy right now, back when it was in the 2000s, and look at it now. It's trading over $4,500. I scammed you guys. There's a two 17s, the same thing. Sorry about that. 18, Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent, 3.7 trillion stablecoin post. This was massive. Talks about how that the stablecoin economy can grow to 3.7 trillion by the end of the decade. That's by the end of 2030. That's incredible, like insane, guys. So we have a very bullish administration, including the Treasury Secretary. We have stablecoin mania happening right now. There's all kinds of private institutions. We know Robinhood Chain. We have JP Morgan, Walmart, Amazon, SoFi. All these people are coming out creating stablecoins for the good of everybody. Now, private companies building on Ethereum. Sorry, this is where I meant to say Robinhood, because they're planning on tokenizing assets, tokenizing all kinds of things, including stocks, which is incredible. Stripe and Paradigm just announced new payment-focused blockchain called Tempo that's going to be built on as an L2 on Ethereum. We have Circle IPO that was like the ChatGPT moment that really brought out the surge of stablecoin momentum as we see it today. Tom Lee's been talking about that for a while. We have continued slide because there's just so many more private companies. This is a slide from Galaxy Digital they came out with, all these non-crypto companies that have been building on Ethereum or Ethereum layer 2s, and you can see some massive companies out here. Real world assets growth is crazy, so we see all kinds of things. Obviously, we talked about tokenized stocks. We have credit, real estate, art, so many more things that are going to be tokenized in the future, which will a lot of that will be built, not all of it, on the Ethereum network, which the more the network grows, the better for Ethereum, the burn, the way the tokenization works. So the M2 money supply explosion and market funds, we have a huge amount of the money supply, as you can see throughout the years, has exploded. And we can see here the money market, we have $7.5 trillion sitting on the sidelines right now. And as you see, we have a very high interest rate environment, which means as rates get cut, we could start to see this to slow down, as we saw here throughout the last decade. And these areas here, these were areas of lower interest rates. And then we can see how Ethereum's actual price of Ethereum has traded typically throughout time with the M2 money supply, but as of lately has kind of drifted off. So this is why Tom Lee and some others think that, hey, we're due for a pretty big pop here, because with the amount of money that's out there, the liquidity, Ethereum should be a little bit higher than it is today and trailing toward that number as well. Declining interest rates is great for risk on assets. There's a ton of studies out there that when interest rates get cut, it boosts liquidity, and therefore there's a big inflow of that money going into risk on assets such as cryptocurrencies. So I have a whole video on this as well, where we talked about what rate cuts could mean for Ethereum. And now, number 24, 12.5 trillion potential unlock via 401ks into alternative assets. So right now, crypto hasn't been approved, but this is a great step, because alternative assets, if this can get pushed through, then all of a sudden it's going to make it a lot easier for assets like cryptocurrency to be potential unlocks into 401ks, where you can put your 401k dollars directly into cryptocurrencies. One is staking rewards are going to be increasing the ETH per share. So since BMNR has the most amount of Ethereum, they will also be able to earn staking rewards on that ETH eventually. Right now, they haven't started that, but they will here soon, hopefully. There will be price of native staking and liquid staking similar to SBET, but they'll be doing it at such a big scale, and they'll be able to earn so much of that APY to be able to either give directly back to shareholders via a dividend, or to be able to buy more Ethereum. So number 26, Ethereum whales are loading the boat. We are seeing a massive amount, as you see here in the bottom right. You can see we're trickling upward on this trend of whales that are purchasing a ton of ETH, and that's, I'm assuming, is going to go higher and higher. Now, there's also short squeeze potential, because there is over 11.6 billion in ETH short positions that will be liquidated when the price reaches new all-time highs. So right around today, you're probably seeing why that stock is going crazy, because we're near all-time highs. We're starting to liquidate some shorts, and I believe we're going to see more of that here soon. Now, 28, BMNR speed of acquiring ETH is unbelievable. I mean, this is a slide from the last chairman's message. This is obviously needs to be updated, because we have a lot more right now bought than this is even showing. But it is incredible pace at what we're buying. It took us like a couple months to buy as much ETH as Strategy took 1,200 days. So that is years. That is 3 years we've done in 3 months. 29, the ETH to Bitcoin ratio. This one's a big one. Ratio is still below 8-year average. So this is what Tom Lee's been talking about. The ETH to Bitcoin ratio, even if it were at its average, would mean the price of Ethereum should be higher, because it's still trading under that average. But what if, as we've seen at its high, it was trading in 2021 at 0.8727. So if we can get not only above the average, but at new all-time highs for potentially Ethereum to be on that ratio of Ethereum to Bitcoin, that would be incredible, because that would just push the price obviously way higher, Ethereum to Bitcoin. Now we can see it here. The 8-year average is right here in the 2021 high. So if Bitcoin reaches 250,000 and we are at the 8-year average, Ethereum should be trading at around $1,200. If we are at the all-time high for that ratio, we would be trading at 22,000 roughly, which is incredible if Bitcoin hits 250,000. We can see where we are today at 125,000. We'd be at 5,983 on the 8-year average, and the 21 high would be at around 11,000 per Ethereum, which is incredible. 30, I made a video on this as well. The Swift network blockchain ledger on Ethereum is massive. So the Swift network is like the communication rails between banks when you're transferring money. And they announced that they're going to be building on using Linea and Consensus, which is a part of the Ethereum network, and that they're going to create a digital ledger. Here's the video if you want to check out more on that. That was uploaded, I think now 3 days ago, because I made this presentation yesterday. Number 31, the ETHZ are acquiring ETH at record speed. You can see here, compared to the Bitcoin digital asset treasury companies, Ethereum since July and really late June, they've acquired ETH so much, so fast, that we are now at a very high percentage, over 3.5% of all ETH is now owned by digital asset treasury companies. Number 32, active addresses on ETH is growing. This is another pro ETH one we can see here back in the end of 2023, beginning or end of 2024, already compared to now. We're seeing a lot of active wallets. We've actually touched from, saying 300,000 to upwards of 600,000, and now are at about 470,000 active wallets. That is going up and to the right. Number 33, more devs on ETH. There are more devs right now on ETH as total monthly active developer count than any other chain. That's good for ETH. Number 34, one of the founders of Ethereum network has been going ongoing innovations. Vitalik Buterin, he's incredible, big advocate of Ethereum network. Obviously, he's very big on decentralization and keeping the chain up, which is one of the things we're going to get to here soon. ZK-rollup maturity, technology for high performance. So we know with Linea and Consensus, there's a lot of innovation coming for zero-knowledge rollups. And that, I think, is only going to help burn more Ethereum, which is good for the network, which is good for BMNR, even though this might be a little bit better for SBET because Joseph Lubin's connections with ETH, or with Consensus. Number 36, spot ETF inflows can't be stopped. You can see here, every single day, we're seeing massive inflows. On the right, you can see the totals of how many people are buying into ETH ETFs. Very good for Ethereum and BMNR. Ethereum has had zero downtime. So compared to all these other chains, we have Solana, we have also just typical software companies, there is downtime. But with Ethereum, since it's in over 10 years, there's not been a single second of downtime. Incredible. And then there is a huge Fusaka upgrade coming in December of 2025. Ethereum's Fusaka upgrade could be its most important yet. It is a big key in helping multiple connected blockchains work together securely and efficiently. I've listened to a lot of videos on Ethereum developers, and I'm personally not one of those, but the Ethereum developers are very hyped about this upgrade and say it could be the biggest upgrade in Ethereum network history. Number 39, pro-crypto tax legislation. Senator Cynthia Lummis of Wyoming is massive. She's been pushing this pro-crypto legislation. Right now, when you stake and when you sell, you have to pay double taxes. That doesn't work with anything else. When you earn an APY and then sell, you shouldn't have to pay twice, right? So same thing with Ethereum. It's kind of BS with crypto tax legislation, and they're trying to fix that. Number 40, Tom Lee and BMNR are focused on building the future of ETH. So this was put out today that at Token 2049 in Singapore, the BitMine team sit down with core developers, including Vitalik, and they had a great talk. They're all working together to build on Ethereum, to make Ethereum more efficient. And overall, that's just going to be massive for BMNR, because as we talked about at the beginning of this video, if we can get to 60,000 ETH, we're all going to be millionaires. If you're in this play like I am, gonna have a lot of money. So let's hope that actually happens. Thank you guys for tuning in. I know I talked pretty quickly in this video. That was the whole point. I didn't want this to be super long, but thank you guys. This took a lot of effort. If you guys are interested in following along for more videos, please give me a subscribe. Appreciate you guys. Talk to you later.